What's going on, Spitfires? Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Spitfire Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren LeMunyan, the Spitfire Coach, here to bring you some words of wisdom, some fire underneath you, some sparks of inspiration. And today we are coming to you with another episode that hopefully motivates you into other levels of awesomeness that we are all destined for and all deserve. And as a reminder, if you are not already subscribed, make sure you go to where you listen to your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and you hit that subscribe link. And after you listen to the show, please leave us a review, send it to a friend, let us know what you think, because your inspiration, your motivation is what feeds us back. Let us know what resonates with you so we can keep bringing you that fire. All right, so I have to share this because it makes me giggle every time. So I have a lot of clients that I've worked with over the years. I have a lot of friends that I talk to, and we have really deep conversations about things. And I like to share specific episodes. I send them via text message to people when I think, hey, this could really, help you out here. Or I thought of you when I was recording this or whatever. Not even when I was recording it. I'm like, hey, I think that you would get something out of it. And this just happened. I just ended a call with someone that I've spoken to a number of times and have known for years. And they said, Lauren, I listened to your last podcast. And I was like, is she talking about me? And I just had to laugh because I can't tell you how many times people have asked me, was that about me? And the reality is, sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. Sometimes there are multiple clients that have similar themes that I lump together. Sometimes it's a conversation I had in passing with a stranger. Sometimes it is an inspiration of a story or an inspiration of a lesson. But the beautiful thing is, whether or not it's specifically about them or about you, there is a lesson to be learned in all of it. If you see yourself in the story or in the person that I'm referring to, then that's absolutely what you needed to hear. And the funny thing is that I couldn't even remember this person mentioning the words that I used. And when they quoted back the piece from the podcast episode, I'm like, yep, that was not about you because you did not say that when we talked last. But I just thought it was really funny because undoubtedly we're like, yes, that was about me. And in fact, I was listening to a podcast on another show. I love the Financial Feminist. She is amazing. If you don't follow her already, definitely check her out. But oh my God, wait, that wasn't even the show. No. It was We Can Do Hard Things. Man, I'm listening to so many podcasts again. It's crazy. And they were talking to Cher, and Cher was telling a story about Sunny. And I was like, oh my God, I'm just like Cher. That's right. I am just like Cher. But I was like, is she talking about me? And of course she wasn't. But I saw so many parallels. And that is the beautiful thing about storytelling. It's the beautiful thing about being able to share your experiences and your lessons learned, because you never know what piece or what angle or what perspective you can unlock for someone else by being honest, by being open, by, going for a specific point. I think so many times we generalize and we water things down where it just becomes so benign and, wah, wah. It's very vanilla. And vanilla has its place, okay? Vanilla is a great little vehicle for flavor. But if we don't sparkle or sprinkle in that flavor and that zest, it can get real murky and lame. And people kind of know when you're just like dialing it in and not really being truthful. And yes, there is absolutely a need for privacy and anonymity and all that stuff, which 100% agree with. But there are ways of telling specific stories that really drive home the point and the message. And so that's why I've been really transparent, or hope to be coming off as very transparent about my own experiences in the last couple months, because I've heard from people I haven't heard from in years that have thanked me for bringing attention to these topics around postpartum depression and the anxiety and the load of being a parent or a working parent, or the conflict of identity in when you become a mother and then you come back to work, and where do you stand and what happens. So I used to feel, and I'm meaning like a month ago, really ashamed, really afraid about what would happen if people found out. What would happen if people found out that I was having intrusive thoughts? Or what would happen if people found out that I was questioning myself or doubting myself? Because if you put yourself out there as an expert in confidence, if you're having these conversations about empowerment and you're coaching people, well, then you obviously have to have your shit together. And the reality is the more that I've kind of let that go and been open about not having my shit together, the better I feel, number one. And the more it allows other people to be like, I don't either. And let's just figure this out together. So it's almost like when you can drop that like feeling of I have to be perfect, not even perfect, but I have to like be able to function and seem like I'm okay. That like not being okayness actually makes people more comfortable to be like, I'm not either. And the ability to put it on the table really diffuses the energy behind the emotion. It doesn't make it go away fully, but it just allows you to have a little bit of control over it, where it's saying, you know what, I'm going to decide where you go. You're not running the show here, anxiety. You're not running the show here, fear. And I actually had this pop up last night. I woke up in the middle of the night. It wasn't in the middle of the night, which is so funny. I go to bed at like 8:30 now, so 10:30 is the middle of the night for me. And I woke up in like this insane puddle of sweat. Like literally my hair was soaking wet. And it wasn't like I was wearing like a snowsuit to bed and we didn't have the heat blasting. I was just going through whatever I was going through. And the reality is we've been doing sleep training with my daughter and she is a stomach sleeper and it makes me so scared. I hate it. I hate it so much, even though I'm a stomach sleeper and her father is a stomach sleeper. But we are constantly watching the monitor, constantly going in there, checking to see if her little nose is still there. And these cameras are just not in the right position because she moves all the time in her floor bed and she's all over the place. She's always fine. And honestly, if she's not okay, she lets us know very quickly. She is a very opinionated and direct child. I have no idea where she gets that from. But last night in particular, I was convinced she's not okay. And so I woke up in this puddle of sweat and I went and checked on her. But what I realized is the anxiety I was feeling actually had nothing to do with her sleeping. I kept thinking it was, but the more that I kind of just sat there and allowed whatever thoughts wanted to come up instead of trying to like clamp them down and put them in a jar, I realized it was because I had a client who's been kind of shifting their power dynamic. We've had some major wins and success and the relationship has been changing. And I have been feeling like I'm not in the driver's seat in that dynamic. And I thought about it of like, why have I given my power away here? And what do I need to do in the other parts of my business to feel more balanced, that I don't have all of my eggs in this basket here? And so that was my big takeaway of I need to focus on building my business back from being on maternity leave, from, kind of scaling back and moving and things like that. And I need to spend some time in soul searching of like, what is this next phase about? My daughter is 5.5 months now. She is growing. She is napping consistently. She just took an 1.5-hour nap. It was glorious, unassisted. She is a rock star. Literally had to hold this kid for a 30-minute nap for 5 months. So this is like a new sense of freedom and openness and opportunity. And so my brain is like really trying to like signal to me, like, get your act together. This is your moment. This is your time. And so this whole next year is going to be about putting myself out there, about trying new things, about putting myself back in the driver's seat, about leveraging the inspiration from other people, sharing it on the podcast, maybe trying some new avenues in the way that I do work. I just had a really exciting call about getting involved in some fun projects. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm excited to kind of dive in. I'm not going to share until it happens. I'm not jinxing it. But really just feeding my soul, because this whole past year has been about, growing a baby and keeping a baby alive and, well adjusted and helping her develop and grow. And so, it's time to kind of readjust that pendulum of energy back to my side. And I think that's fair. And, if you are a full-time stay-at-home mom, like, good on you. It is not within me. I have about a 3-hour limit and then I start to get twitchy. I'm a dabbler in my business, professionally and personally. So I need to have multiple things happening all the time. And I love my kid, but I am not a teacher. I am not an activity coordinator. We just move and groove and have lots of dance parties. And I think there's a limitation on her development for that. There's only so many dance parties that your kid needs after a certain point. So For me, this whole next year is going to be about expanding, but also really rooting down into what I do best and what makes me happy, and allows me to also have the flexibility and freedom to be a mom and to be a partner and to be a good friend and to have fun. Like, fun is going to be at the top line of all of this. So I had a whole theme that I was going to dive into about, like, hearing yourself and finding the lessons. And maybe that's what this show actually was about, after my rambling and, night terrors and sweats. But hopefully my sleep will get better after this. So I hope that you are able to also put your stuff on the table and to lessen that energetic load. And that you start to think about yourself as the main character of next year and your next day and your next minute. Because we only have one life to live here that I know about. So from what I know, go for it. Live your best life. Light those fires. Spark the creativity and inspiration in yourself and in others. And y'all keep being awesome.